One of the comments I see on the channel most frequently is, I wish I had learned this earlier, or I wish my father had taught me this. I wish that someone would have told me this information about women a long time ago, and it would have saved me a ton of pain. So today, I'm going to grant your wishes. Now, for some of you guys, it's too late, and there's nothing I can do about that. I cannot turn back the hands of time. But for you guys who have not made all the mistakes, who have not had their finances docked by the state because of a marriage that went bad, I'm hoping this will be useful to you. So today, and I think for the next 4 or 5 videos, I'm going to be doing a series on everything I wish I had known before about women. And today, we're going to be delving deep into the big issue of female attraction. This is Life 2.0. Let's talk about it. I have recognized that there are 2 types of guys when it comes to female attraction. There are the types of guys who truly understand it and actually make some way with women. And there are those who think they understand it and don't get anywhere. I'm going to break it down for you so that you can not only understand what it is, but how to use it in your own life and how you can actually make some improvements and improve your odds of attracting a woman. I'm very lucky that back in my day, back in the 80s and 90s, women were limited to the men they could see. And so I wasn't competing with every guy in the world. And you're going to say, well, John, there you go. That changes the game. Kinda. You still come across women every day in your real life world. And you're going to find that those are the women you're going to have the best odds with. Trying to meet a woman online through an app, yeah, I mean, maybe, but for the vast majority of guys, it's not going to work out. I mean, really, what do you get from an app? You're looking at a guy's appearances, maybe his job title. It's a 2-dimensional photograph with whatever that person puts in their resume, basically, their profile. It's mostly bullshit. And I think even a lot of women are coming to the conclusion that dating apps really are not the way to meet guys. So they're starting to get creative about it as well. So let's talk about the 3 main things that you have some control over that really drive female attraction. So the things that attract women fall in 2 categories. There are those things that you have control over and those things that you don't. For example, I know this super hot girl who's crazy, but she's super hot, but she's 6 feet tall. Now I am not 6 feet tall. I cannot control that. So even if I wanted to take a run at her, I probably wouldn't stand much of a chance because generally speaking, women are looking for guys that are taller than themselves. Now that is not a absolute rule. That's not one of those you can't have a chance with the taller woman, but generally speaking, it reduces your odds significantly. So there are 3 subcategories that you need to be aware of. There is your confidence / charisma / personality, all is one. Your resources is another. And finally, your appearance. Now, most guys online think that, well, all the Chads are just these good-looking guys, and that's why they get these girls. And there is some truth to that. You know, appearance does play a role, but it doesn't play as much of a role as you think, and it doesn't play a role under all circumstances. So for girls on girls' night out, and they're all just out drinking, having fun, and they want to pick up some guys, yeah, being a good-looking guy will get you laid or get you a girl, whatever. But it's not going to lead you to anything significant because she's got to do some math in her head. She's got to think about long-term, what does she want? So there are the kinds of guys that girls will just do a one-night stand with. Those are the Chads and the Tyrones. And then there's the kind of guys that women will have a relationship with. And that's the rest of us have a chance at. So let's start with charisma / personality. Self-confidence is the most significant factor that most guys overlook when it comes to women. They think that if they're not Brad Pitt or George Clooney or somebody like that they don't stand a chance. And that absolutely is not the case. Confidence, self-confidence, and charisma go a long way toward making a combination or getting a relationship going with a woman. If you've got the confidence to approach her, you've got a sense of humor, you've got a way with you, you can banter with her, your odds of making a connection go sky high. They go sky high, even if you're not that good looking. So don't allow yourself to fall into the trap of believing that because you weren't endowed with natural good looks that you don't stand a chance. Because I can tell you from experience that is not the case. I was not gifted. Yet I have been very lucky. And I swear to God, a lot of it has to do just with my ability to communicate, my ability to have some self-confidence and be charismatic with women. The second thing is, let's do the looks next. Since we've already talked a little bit about personality, let's get right into the looks. So, having a handsome face and a strong jawline and all that stuff definitely will make a difference. And there's obviously not much you can do about that if you weren't born with it. But there are things that you can do to really improve your appearance. And I think you need to take into account that it's not just your physical, raw good looks that matter. It also can come down to your overall presentation. So if you're dressed well, if you look the part, you can go up a notch very quickly. So like if you're a 5, just by looking good and dressing well, you can become a 6 very, very easily. If you're lean and strong and you're healthy and you have a good body because you keep yourself in good shape, you can go from a 6 to maybe even a 7, So if you dress well and you keep yourself in good shape, well, you're going to become a lot better looking to a lot of women, even though you might not naturally be the classic good-looking guy. So you have a lot of control over your appearance. It's not an absolute. A lot of it also has to do with your, your attitude. So if you look like someone that's approachable, that's having a nice time, that's always in a good mood, that has a good frame of mind about the world and about life, well, you carry yourself differently. But if you feel like you're being beaten up, that you're downtrodden, that no one gives you a break, that life just sucks, well, you kind of carry a little bit of an energy like that, I see a lot of that in the comments where people just think, oh, everything sucks. My whole life sucks. The world sucks. Nothing works for me. Everything's against me. Nobody gives me any breaks. I am a victim of the world. There are so many guys walking around with that attitude. And I can promise you, if that's you, you're not going to meet a lot of girls. They're just not into it. Women have a different mentality altogether. Women, for better or worse, I know they're very emotional and they have emotional radar and they will pick up on that energy just like the dogs do. The dogs, you say dogs can identify people that are good people versus bad people. They absolutely can. If someone comes with a really negative attitude, yeah, I've seen the dogs freak out. Jax is extremely sensitive. So is Debu, for that matter. But I've seen Jax just like turn around and run away from somebody. That guy was walking toward us and he just turned around and went the other direction. And I could tell this guy was carrying some negative shit. I could tell he was not right in the head. Jax picked up on it right away and turned around and ran. Women are the same way. You got some negative shit, you're carrying around a lot of bad energy, then you're going to have a really tough time meeting anyone that's nice. That's for sure. Maybe you'll attract some some negative energy girl. You'll find that traumatized tattooed girl with the nose ring. That'll be your speed. That's the vibration level that you're at. So you got to be cautious about where are you psychologically and emotionally, because women do pick up on emotions in a lot of the same ways that animals do. And if you're emotionally in a negative place, they will pick up on it right away. All right, let's talk about resources. Now, this is the area where you have all the control. You have all the control. It's all about money. And even if you don't make a lot of money, you can save money. You say, well, John, my job sucks. I don't make that much money at my job. Well, then you got to get creative, don't you? You're going to have to start thinking about how can you make more money? Think about starting a business. Maybe do it on the side to get started. I would strongly recommend that unless you're a certified professional like a doctor or a lawyer or a network engineer or something along those lines, like a software engineer, you're working in AI, unless you've got some kind of credential like that that says, yeah, I've got it made. I'm gonna be on easy street my whole life if I just keep doing what I've been doing. If you're just like the rest of us, then I strongly recommend that you start your own business, because all the tax laws are written for business owners. I guarantee it. You're gonna be shocked at how little money you pay in taxes when you own a business. If you can't do that full time, obviously you've got to take some risks to start a business, then I would certainly start one on the side to get things going. But you've got to get your money right, whether it's through saving from your job or it's starting a business and being an entrepreneur. You have got to get your money right, and you've got to start using it wisely. So saving some money and blowing it all on some fancy car is not going to get you there. Cars depreciate really fast, but that's a whole nother video. But use your brain when it comes to how you save and manage your money. Don't be an idiot with it. So let's talk about hypergamy. Women are hypergamous, meaning that they always want to match with a guy that's slightly better than them. So we just talked about the characteristics that they use to evaluate you. Your charisma, confidence, personality, your resources, and your appearance. So you've got to make sure that when you establish yourself in that realm as a 6, a 7, an 8, a 9, or a 10, whatever you got, whatever you are, you need to make sure that since you realize that women are hypergamous and they're always going to want to go with somebody who's a notch up from them, that when you pick a woman, that you are absolutely a notch up from her. Yeah, think about that for a second. Now, we live in a very superficial world, and appearances frequently are the primary judgment that we use to, or criteria we use to make judgments about someone's value or their quality. At least that's the way it is across the board in a lot of our culture. Don't play that game. Play the quality game. You know, look for quality characteristics about a woman. Look for someone who's got the characteristics that you want in your life. Make an avatar of those characteristics so that you'll know what they are when you see them in somebody. Don't allow yourself to get sucked in with the appearances, because so long as you're the prize, so long as you're the one that is a little bit better looking in the scheme of things, she's always going to see you as being just a little bit better. Just being the one that the best that she can get. If you're the best that she can get, then you won't have to worry so much about hypergamy in your relationship. Give it some thought. Now, you're still gonna have to maintain your appearance and your resources and your charisma, and you're probably gonna have to become a little bit more emotionally available and learn how to split the hairs of being both a lover and a friend and all that, and not become, unimportant by becoming too much of a friend, or becoming too distant by becoming too much of a lover, but finding that fine line between the two. You can do it though, you can absolutely do it, but you're gonna have to match up with someone that you have a slight edge on. And if you do that, your likelihood of having to deal with hypergamy as a problem in your relationship will be much reduced. Number 3, do not be the nice guy. Nice guys get friend zoned. What do I mean by nice guy? A nice guy dedicates himself and his life to his girlfriend, to his partner, whatever. Now, it may seem on the surface that that's what she wants, but as soon as you give in and you start acting in those ways that she thinks is just so sweet when you first start doing it, well, it's not gonna take long before she gets fed up with that really fast. The opposite of a nice guy is not an asshole, no. It's a guy who has his own values, his own priorities, and his own vision for life. If you've got your own vision for life, your own frame, your own boundaries, then you are gonna stand apart from this relationship to some degree. There'll be times when you give in to her, but there'll be times when your boundaries are being crossed or being approached, and you're gonna make it clear to her that that's not gonna happen. You're also gonna reserve your vision for your life as your priority. She fits into that vision. She is not that vision. That's the important difference that you need to see. She cannot be the purpose of your life. if making her happy and having this woman in your life is the reason for you living, then you will feel the pain of that at some point. There is no question about it. You must have your own, call it your masculine frame, but really it's all about having a vision for your life, goals that you set for yourself, boundaries that you set to determine what you will and will not put up with, a strong set of values that you live by. You don't compromise on these things. And you understand that she's a part of your life. She is not your life. If you can do that, then she will always respect you. I shouldn't say always. That's a whole other issue. But you will be much more likely to get her respect because she will recognize that you're going to be happy in your life with or without her. And that's the key element there. You see, she needs to recognize that you are going to be happy and satisfied with your life, whether she's in it or not. Now, it's nice if she's there. It's like a preference, but it's not required. Even if you're alone, you're still going to be just as fine. You don't have to make her think or let her think that she's critical to your happiness, to your plan, to anything. That if she's there for the ride and you enjoy her company, you'll let her come along. But if she doesn't want to come along, you're okay with it. You see what I mean? It's this laissez-faire kind of approach to it. Now you can still fall in love with her, and you can tell her you love her, and you can be kind to her, and you can do all these wonderful things with her. But when push comes to shove, you're shoving her out. Like if she's going to start pushing you to do something that you don't feel comfortable with, you're just like, I don't think so. No. And that's that. And if she doesn't like it, well, then she can leave. And you're just fine with that. And as long as you have that attitude and that approach, not to be an asshole, like I said, you're not being a dick with it, but you are making it clear what her boundaries are and where she fits into your life. That's the critical piece. The other side of having a strong masculine frame is understanding that women have this transactional approach to relationships. So it really does have a lot to do with what have you done for me lately. When you create a world for her, like I created a world for my ex-wife. We had a big house, we lived in a nice neighborhood, I had a nice job, we had kids, dogs, minivans, we even had nannies for a while, had all that together. But when I decided that I no longer wanted to work that job any longer and I wanted to take some risks with my career, it made her almost instinctively uneasy and neurotic to some degree. There was anxiety and a lot of negative emotions that I'm not even sure she was completely aware of at the time. I don't think I was aware that she was experiencing that, but I did recognize that she had become more and more distant, and I could tell that her energy had changed. Well, when it was within a couple of years of that she left, and when I've talked to her about it since then, I've tried to squeeze from her, what the hell were you thinking when you left? And she said she didn't know. She just felt like she had to leave. She felt like she was afraid, like she was in a burning house and that she needed to get out. Now, we were experiencing some financial troubles at the time. We didn't fight. We didn't have any problems with each other, but her self-preservation mechanism kicked in, and she felt that it was in her best interest to find another way to make a life for herself. And that was fine. And I think that you as a man have to recognize that that is just the way they are. I don't know that you necessarily need to change your approach with them just with this information. They are just going to do that anyway. And you can't live your life thinking that you have to create some, preserve for them, that your whole life is about providing and protecting for them all the time. You still have to have yourself as the central focal point of your life. Now, I'm not saying you're selfish. Don't get me wrong. What I'm saying here is that you have to live your life. You cannot let her live your life for you. If she starts living your life for you, she starts pulling your strings and she starts dictating in some way, whether it be directly or indirectly, about how you should be living your life, then you're going to be miserable. And you're going to see your relationship go downhill very, very quickly. Things are not going to work out long term for you if that happens. So just be aware of it. You have to live your own life. You cannot allow a woman to live your life for you. The single biggest mistake that men make with women is picking the wrong one. Usually they rush in thinking they're getting a girl or a woman who's out of their league, and they are ignoring a lot of the red flags that pop up. It's not even a conscious thing. They're just so focused on locking down this deal with this girl that they don't pay attention to those things. Or they're so focused on just the physical part of the relationship. They think that that's all they're going to get from this. And she the whole while is thinking there's a long tail on this thing. She's not thinking one night stand. She's thinking this is going to be a relationship. So before you sleep with a woman, if you have any intention of having any kind of relationship with her, you need to delay the physical aspect of your relationship. You need to push it back so that there is no intimacy, like real serious intimacy, no sex, for at least a few months. The only way you're going to be able to properly vet this woman is if you're clear-headed. Now, you're still going to have all the, the butterflies and all that stuff when you're in with a new relationship, but you won't be clouded with the hormones that come from intimacy. And what I'm talking about here primarily is the dopamine and the oxytocin that comes from sex, and it is truly a drug that clouds your ability to make good decisions. So do not allow yourself to fall into that trap. Picking the right girl is going to make the difference between having a life that is potentially peaceful and rich with a deep, meaningful relationship, and one that's filled with animosity and fighting and divorce and financial hardship. So be really, really clear about what you're looking for. A guy I used to know, he's married for like 40 years, and they seem to have a pretty good relationship. He interviewed her like it was a job interview. I mean, he honest to God interviewed her. After dating her for a couple months, he started getting right down to what it was he was looking for in a woman. And he started filling out a form, essentially, quietly on his own, asking her questions on their dates, and then writing down these answers, and then reapproaching these same questions from a different angle to make sure that she was consistent in the way that she answered the questions, to make sure she wasn't lying or she wasn't playing a game. He took notes on his dating his future wife, and he did that for the entire time that they were dating. I think they dated for like about 2 years, and then they finally got married. That is a crazy way to do it, but it worked. It worked. I don't know that it's necessarily the only way that it'll work, but I think it's something you need to think about. Like, if you get really, really serious about a girl, start thinking about, what do you want for yourself regardless of her? What do you really, really want for yourself? And then take a look at, does she fit any of this criteria? And if you're not sure, then you need to start asking her questions. You need to start digging into her and finding out, is this someone that I can be serious about? Do not allow yourself to get into a relationship by mistake. That's what happens to most guys. They don't realize what's happening until it's almost over. And then it's like, oh my God, I think I'm going to get married. Yeah. And then you're like, well, what the hell? What do I have to lose? Yeah, famous last words. You have a lot to lose. Trust me, you have a lot to lose. So picking the right girl is the single most important thing you can do. Do not have a scarcity approach to this, a scarcity mentality. There are 4.2 billion women on the planet. I'm sure you will find a good one if you take your time and you have confidence and you make it your mission to find one. Don't get impatient. Just realize it'll happen when it happens. Have faith that someone's out there looking for you. If this is something that you want, probably there's someone out there looking for you. So make sure that you make a good decision about the kind of women that you bring into your life, and realize that bringing the wrong woman in, especially into a long-term relationship or a marriage, could result in your life taking a turn that you really, really are going to regret. that's all I got. I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, please like and subscribe. If you know someone who is would be interested in this, is maybe out there looking for a woman, a young guy who maybe needs to understand a little bit about women, I'm going to be doing a whole series on this, you know, things I wish my dad had taught me, and I hope you share it with them. Anyway, until next time, stay healthy, and if you can, stay single.